I'm Laurie Bishop, and I'm the founder of Become Studios. It's a photography studio built to, or dedicated to helping women step into themselves, step into their power, and be seen. And today, my friend Rachel, health coach, and I are talking about health tips and how to look your best and things that are related to the holiday season that just might strike a chord with people and help them get through the next month or so. And before we dive into giving any tips, I thought, Rachel, you could tell us a little bit about how you got to supporting women leading up to 50. You're obviously not 50. You have a beautiful face over there. And you know, just, I don't know, speak to that, because I think this intergenerational, just from an age perspective, is really important to have, to share our discussions and talk about why it's interesting to you, and I'll talk about why it's interesting to me. I think that's a beautiful place to start to break down age biases and generational biases. So how'd you get here?
Well, first of all, before I do, just want to say a big thank you for inviting me to do this chat with you.
Yeah.
Like, super excited to get into it. So a bit about me. So I'm a health coach, and I work with women who are approaching the 50s, who are feeling lost and frustrated about aging, and help them to rediscover themselves and their happiness later on in life, and basically help them to achieve what they deem as impossible as they age. That's what I'm really passionate about. Mm-hmm. And so what got me into working with women that age was, I'll have to share a bit about my story of how I actually got into health coaching in the first place. So as from a young age, I've always been involved in sport, big part of my life. And up until 2019, I was very fortunate to not have a major injury. And then lo and behold, 2019 happened. While playing softball, I managed to break my finger. And I'd done it very well, but so much, in fact, I had to have surgery, which was a big hit mentally on me. I couldn't play, but luckily I did manage to rehab from it, and then I got back into playing softball in the July, and then again ended up injuring myself.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just again, I wasn't in the right frame of mind while I was playing. I was just really nervous all the time about, if another injury was going to happen, and then obviously it happened. So I hyperextended my knee, and again, I just felt broken. I felt lost. I felt betrayed by my body with having these injuries and not being able to play sport when it was such a big part of my identity. I was playing it roughly 4 times a week, doing tournaments at the weekends, playing in the evenings after work. So for that to be stripped from me, I didn't know who I was when I couldn't play sport. And luckily for me, after feeling that way for a while, I then decided to reach out and get help with a counsellor. I then started to read self-development books and started to make small changes with my habits and improve my health along the way. And I'm glad to say that I'm now rehabbed from the injuries. I can play sport again. But for me, the biggest thing, and why I want to help women who are older, is because I don't want anyone to feel the way that I did, with feeling like they've lost themselves and they've lost their identity, which I feel women that age can feel like, because there's so many things going on. Potentially, you've had kids, they've now left the nest, doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. You could also be having problems with your job, or going through the menopause, approaching retirement. And all of this can have a knock-on effect to your identity, who you've known yourself to be. And it's a really hard place to be. And on top of that, with the whole, I suppose, society's viewpoint of aging, of, it's a bad thing to age, especially for a woman,
Yeah.
then it just sort of compounds it.
Yeah.
And it just, again, like, I suppose, makes them doubt what's actually possible for them later on, that nothing's going to get better. And that's why I want to help them. And also, I suppose, is with regards to chronic disease as well. Like, we're seeing a lot of more chronic disease later on in life. And again, this is preventable through lifestyle changes. And the earlier you can do it, obviously, the better. You're less likely to, you'll be able to reverse it or have less symptoms. And again, that all ties in with that age group as well. Sorry
Yeah.
for going on a bit. It was quite a
No,
long
you trigger so many thoughts for me. I mean, that's why we connected in the very start. We started chatting on LinkedIn, and your perspective intrigues me because I personally, when I was younger, didn't have that perspective. I just didn't have this broader idea that I was going to be inhibited by my body, or, like you said, betrayed by my body later. I was very athletic and into sports as well. And so you've touched on this experience that you've had that is very relatable to an older audience, because I mean, the women that I talk to, we do feel betrayed by our bodies. It doesn't have to be a sports injury, right? It's just me, I've got some chronic pain in my neck. It comes and goes, but I'm like, what, like, why is this happening? And it does impact your mental state. And I think everything you said is so valuable to people, or to the women you're working with, for them to know that you relate. You're not 50 years old. You don't have to be to relate to that experience of, am I lesser than? Do I have no identity because my body's changing and shifting, despite me eating well, despite me continuing to exercise and continuing to move, or despite the fact that I'm living my life the way I was when I was 30? Why can't I eat that muffin and have it just go away when I go for a walk? It's just, there's a lot of thoughts around the body betrayal. So all those pieces that, that your whole story just magnetized me towards wanting to talk to you and understand where you're coming from, and also share your story so people can find you, and get help. And especially younger women too. Anyone who's had, maybe they're 35, or maybe they're 40, but just bringing awareness to, hey, everything's going great now, but at some point your body's going to shift, whether it's an injury or it's just an aging body, which is a fine thing. But to bring awareness to it, I think, helps us get a little bit smarter about how we treat ourselves today.
Yeah, definitely, completely agree with what you said as well, that it's not just that age group as well, because like I mentioned earlier, it's everything that we're doing right now. Like, so for me, how I'm treating my body is going to impact what my health's going to be like in the next 10 years and going forward, and how my menopause experience is going to be as well. I don't think a lot of women realize it's not. And again, this is why I'm so into helping women who are older, is because most of the women that I speak to, or who I'm around in my day-to-day life, they say, oh, there's so many negative thoughts around aging, or they feel like it's just creeped up on them. But when you actually take a wider view and you sort of hear them talk about other things that have happened in their life and their health, these things have been happening slowly, but it's obviously just built up, and it's reached like a sort of, I suppose, breaking point where it's coming out, and it's really, really noticeable now.
Yes, it's that slow creep. You're right. You're exactly right. And again, I had that same experience, that I had a state of well-being that I could pretty much count on until I didn't. And then I was like, what just happened? And I also see that reflected, like you and I have a mutual desire to support women, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And I see that slow creep reflected in the women that I work with as well. And, running the portrait photography business, mostly for women 50 plus, that I think they're ashamed. I think they've been dismissed. I think they're bummed out about their bodies. And it does suddenly appear, even though you've been behaving a certain way for 20 or 30 years, it suddenly has an impact. And, I think something else you said, that for both of us, I feel like many women feel invisible in plain sight. That's part of, it's your look. You're used to being responded to in a certain way as a younger woman with society, and we're not being seen as ourselves. And I want women to feel powerful in all their dimensions and to be seen fully. And for them to want to be seen, they need to have some self-awareness and feel well and feel healthy. And that's where you and I cross over beautifully. If you're helping somebody feel good, I think the feeling good is so huge to looking good, not looking young, but looking good.
Yeah. And that again, that's sort of coming back to like how we connected. And that's sort of why, like, when I seen your LinkedIn profile, I resonated so much with what you do, because I was seeing these amazing photographs of these women who look like they were, standing in their power and being proud of who they are and being their true selves as well. Like, I remember that story you mentioned about the woman who was she wearing the cloak, was it? Or
I built this crazy purple tulle skirt. It's like a ball gown skirt.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. And she we're going a little off track, but who cares?
Sorry.
I know I want to offer the tips, but all of this is so relevant because this gorgeous woman came into my studio. We had conversations ahead of time. She's 60-ish and wasn't loving her job. She's doing a good job, but she wasn't loving her job and was considering looking at herself differently, thinking differently about herself to find a new path in her workforce, but was coming in for a headshot. So, we did her headshot, LinkedIn, whatever other social profiles she needed, something very straightforward. And then she saw the purple skirt hanging in the corner. I have a small slew of just really fun, glammy outfits. And she wanted to put it on. She's like, that looks like fun. As soon as it went on, her story shifted and she just started having a blast. It became a more theatrical moment. I started having more fun. I mean, the energy in the room was just like, woo, let's go for it. Let's just have fun with this and see what happens. And it ended up being her favorite photo of herself, where she said, that's me. I'm going to take that photo and hang it on my wall because that's me. That felt like her from the inside out. It felt like the playful, theatrical part of her that wasn't being integrated into her job. And I don't know where that's going to lead. It was fairly recent, but I'm hoping that leads to her recognizing all of her dimensions and pulling them all together and saying that part of me needs to come to my job too. Whether that changes jobs or not. And that's about health and well-being and an image of yourself becoming an inspiration for you is a great part of that. So,
yeah. And something as well that you tied in with like the health, and then what you said about when she put the skirt on with the energy change. And I think it is all to do with the energy. I remember someone, who was it now, saying like it doesn't necessarily matter like what they look like, it's all to do with the energy. Like, you could be wearing anything and it wouldn't matter because it all depends on the energy that you're giving off. And like,
yes.
It ties, like you said, it ties in with looking after yourself with the health and well-being, but also feeling confident in yourself as well, which again like ties in with the photography side and like just shining your light brightly.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's when I say all dimensional, I do think of the work that you bring to the table, helping women not be, well, you'll get into it, but not be on a diet, but eating so you feel well. And honestly, talking with you has had kind of part to go in my shoulder over the past several weeks, because I'm, socializing, going to parties and stuff. And I'm like, I don't need that second glass of champagne. I actually am going to go get a mocktail, cranberry juice. There's a fabulous cranberry juice and ginger beer mixed together. Delicious. But there's no alcohol in it. And I had just as much fun. I didn't feel all sluggish and over sugared. That's just me. That's my body. I adore sugar, but it doesn't adore me back. And I also just was able to stay more grounded, more in my body, in myself. So just the discussions we've been having leading up to this conversation just parked those ideas in my head in a social situation where I normally, get a little nervous or overeat because I'm not paying any attention to what I'm doing, because you want to relax at a party. Right? You just want to have a good time, but maybe just like a teeny bit of insight before you go, and bring the mocktail to the party, or find the really yummy other thing that doesn't leave you feeling sluggish and gross. It's not about avoiding amazing food that always shows up at these parties. Have some of it, but just check in and see how you're feeling.
Yeah, definitely. Because like you said, it's especially with women, when it comes to looking after themselves and what they eat, they tend to want to restrict themselves and say, oh yeah, from today, I'm not eating any sugar, I'm not having any chocolate. And although it's really good intentions, it doesn't last, because it's creating scarcity in the mind. So then it's likely that they want to binge on it because it's the last time they're ever going to eat it.
Right.
And then they'll manage to last for a couple of days, but then the cravings will kick in, and then they'll go back to eating it, and then it's just like a vicious cycle of self-blame and then eating it. But as you perfectly said, you could still go to these parties, still enjoy it, but just be mindful of how much you're eating of it, and honoring your hunger and fullness, which is what I'll talk about in a bit. So it's just being, I suppose, more mindful as you are eating.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually a really nice segue into some of the tips you were going to talk about, because it's all interrelated. I love how you say it's not about what you said, like the lack of. It's not about cutting yourself off from all goodness. I'm like, have that bonbon, man. It's good. Have it. Just don't have 7.
Yeah.
Or get a little tactics and walk away from that table and stand next to the other table that just has a lot of sparkling water or something. I mean, and see if you have just as good a time.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, So do you want to jump in with some of your tips?
Yeah.
Like how to survive the holidays and feel awesome?
Yeah, so as you probably have guessed, my tips are around enjoying the holidays, but doing it in a healthy way. So I'm not going to be telling anyone to restrict or suggest anyone restricts anything, because I don't believe in all that. So the one that I just mentioned before was honouring your hunger and fullness. So it's quite easy over the holidays to overeat. There's a lot of food around. I don't know what anyone else's family is like, but we always have boxes of chocolates in. We tend to have Christmas dinner, and then we tend to go off to other family in the evening. And again, they put on the spreads of buffet, and it can be quite easy to think that you need to eat it all. And again, I think this ties into, especially if you are visiting others, that you may believe it's rude to leave food.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to suggest that it's not rude. that please do honour your hunger, like your fullness levels, and because it's going to impact not only how your next meal is going to taste, like your next meal won't taste as delicious if you're overfull, and you're filling your body with extra calories that it doesn't need. And if you do feel like it may be rude, potentially ask if you could take some home. If
Oh,
obviously
that's a good idea.
yeah, if you don't want to burden them with eating it all.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
yeah, it's just trying to think of different ways of, or if you can't eat your full meal, but again you don't want to leave it, split half of it and save it in a container for the next day. Again, it doesn't, just remember you don't necessarily have to eat it all in that one sitting. You can have it another time, and it'll be easier on your digestive system. So
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, can you give an example of honoring your hunger and fullness? I mean, what does that mean to you? What's your experience of that?
So it involves us getting in tune with our bodies. So knowing actually when our bodies are telling us that they're hungry. So for me, my stomach growls and rumbles to tell me. So when I work with clients, I normally say, imagine it's on a scale from 1 to 10. So with 1 being not hungry at all and 10 being like you could eat anything in the entire room. Like basically you don't want to get to 10, you want to get to about 7. So you're past like the halfway and you are getting hungry, but you're not like in a ravenous state, because then that's obviously where you may end up eating more because you're in a rush. Like, I need to eat all this.
Yeah, so that's when I'm eating the donut.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hungry, I'm hangry, now I'm getting the donut instead of something that actually my body's like, that's not really what I want, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely the hangry situation. So try and dial in. So it may, if you're not completely in tune with your body, like a lot of people aren't, it may take you a while to get used to it. So just like over the next couple of days and weeks, just practice thinking, where am I if I was to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just for you to start experimenting with.
Well, that's a nice idea too, is just your day, a couple of days, during your weekday, your work day or whatever, just notice ahead of anything that's coming and ahead of any social event.
Yeah, definitely. And the more you practice, the more you'll be in tune, and it'll just be like second nature, really. You'll know when's best to eat and when not. And it's the same sort of with fullness. So you'll have 0 or 1, which would be not full at all, and then 10 would be like you're completely stuffed. You happen to unbutton the trousers, get out your clothes so you don't want to get to 10, you want to get to about 80. So you don't want to feel completely full, you want to feel like just content. And a good way to do this, which ties into my next tip, is to slow down when you're eating and to be really mindful. And this allows you to recognize when you are at that point. So I'll move on to the second tip because it relates to it. So my second tip was to slow down and be more mindful when you eat. And by slowing down, you're giving your body time to register when it's full, because it takes about 20 minutes from your stomach to signal to your brain that it's actually full and to not eat. Whereas a lot of us tend to eat on the go, in a rush, in between meetings, basically just, eating it all and not registering at all what's happening. So really slowing down, chewing your food properly as well, allows you to figure out when it is you're full. And that'll help you from obviously overeating. Again, you could potentially lose weight just by following this tip of honouring your hunger and fullness. and without actually changing anything of your diet, but just by doing that. And also by slowing down, you're coming out of the stress response,
Mm.
um, which again, if you're in the stress response, your digestive system isn't working as well as it could be.
Oh,
Which again, pardon.
no, I just said, oh, you're talking about
Sorry,
stress
I thought
response.
you said something else.
No,
Yeah.
that the stress response changes the way you digest. I'd never really thought about that. And you're talking about stress in a social situation, not Tiger's not running after you, but just the sheer stress of being out and about, or
Yeah, definitely. So our bodies don't actually know the difference between danger, as in a tiger running after us, or a social situation, or being yelled at by our boss, or having a looming um, deadline at work. These stresses all trigger the same stress response in our body, and when that happens, it shuts down our digestive power, because all our blood flow moves out of the stomach and the small intestines and into our outer limbs. So think of your legs and your arms. So this is a great
ah,
evolutionary advantage to obviously outrun the tiger. But when we don't have to outrun the tiger and we are just dealing with a stressful day in work, it actually massively impacts how well we digest by up to, I don't know if it's like, I might get this wrong, it's either 30 or 70%, um, which is it's a considerable amount. And this can be why, like especially with, well, either gender really, if they're eating the healthiest things, eating the salads, not eating, loads of snacks, but if they're stressed all the time or don't have a way of relaxing, they're still going to put weight on.
huh.
Yeah.
Wow, I know that's a great thing to think about, because everything you're saying is not about denying yourself some tasty food. Again, it's about being in the present
Mm.
as much as possible, because that's the only way you can, right? Having some self-awareness of what's going on right now
Yeah.
lets you observe what your body's doing, even if it's for just 10 seconds. You might be like, oh, I'm like super full. I'm getting a little stressed out talking to this one person because I don't know them, or whatever. If you're introverted, I don't know who they are, and I don't know what to say. So you just start eating, and then your body's like, I don't even know what to do. So all of that stuff ties into feeling good again. How are you going to feel your best? And I had no idea your digestion just goes to pot if you're feeling stressed out. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I literally had no idea until I did my health coaching qualification, and they mentioned it in there, and I was like, this is so fascinating that no one knows. And there's so many people who say that they can't lose the weight, and it does make you wonder, is it just because they're not managing to get out of that sympathetic nervous system response, the
Mm.
stress response, and because it is only when we're in the relaxive state that we can heal the body and digest properly as well. So it
Oh
is
man, we're gonna have like 25 tips, but all that conversation, I'm like, what else? What else do I need to know? But we'll try to keep it simple. So yes, you just being aware. I'll ask you to run through the 3 tips once we're done with the.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that was, I think I've done 2 so far, haven't I? So one was honor hunger and fullness. 2 was slow down and to be mindful when you're eating. And then the third one was related to drinking, because everyone likes to drink and celebrate at Christmas and New Year. Um, and it can be easy to, I suppose, overdo it again. So,
Mhm.
like with all the other tips, I'm not telling you or suggesting to quit the drinking. I do like a cider, but it's just more, again, becoming more aware of how many you are having, and potentially, drinking some water in between um your alcoholic drink so that you can rehydrate. And, this has the added benefit of potentially reducing your hangover the next day
Oh,
and
Lord, yes, please.
helping you feel a bit more refreshed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a big one. I did take that on. It doesn't matter what holiday you're celebrating. There usually seems to be some type of drinking involved, if that's your thing. And a glass of whatever the libation is, and a big glass of water, and a glass of whatever like every other has really saved me in the past. Plus,
Right.
it's again exercising a little bit of self-awareness. Just and setting the tone for the whole party, for example, before you get there. Just make yourself one promise. You're like, 10 pieces of chocolate, that's it, and a glass of water between every beverage. That's all. That's as rigid as I'm going to get. But sticking with that, and that's a great jumping off point for some of the tips I was going to be talking about as well, is that the hydration is so key to looking good, to having really clear eyes, and to having your skin looking good. I like a glass of champagne as much as the next guy. Actually, I'd take a margarita, but it's not a very holiday drink. But I do notice, again, the older my body gets, my poor liver is like, you know what, you need to stop doing that, because I'm not going to look good the next day. And it's, you're getting rid of toxins, really, is what you're doing. Definitely. When you're flushing everything with the water. And if you're getting rid of toxins, then your skin ends up looking better. Your eyes are looking better. You don't have dehydration showing up under your eyes or in your neck. That's a huge piece of looking good. And when I have women coming in for their photo sessions, I'm like, just drink water like crazy for at least 2 days beforehand. It plumps everything up. It makes you look fresh, and your skin is detoxified. So you're going to have a little bit more glow. It's a very, very simple way of looking really good and feeling really good. The other thing I was going to say, God, there's like so many things. When you were talking about the self-awareness piece, as it regards to eating, because we're not talking about dieting, we're just talking about how to feel your best and how to age gracefully, if you will. The self-awareness and being with yourself to me, is key to feeling great. And one thing I try to do every day is spend 5 minutes in the morning setting the tone for my day. And that's just whatever happened in the morning. People are running around, the cats are running around, work is going crazy, emails are going crazy. We're all dealing with that stuff, on top of trying to manage our social life and our family affairs as they come in and out during the holidays. But if you give yourself really even 2 minutes, just sitting quietly, you don't have to meditate. I like it, but you don't have to. Just noticing your feet on the floor, feeling the bones in your feet. If you're sitting, feel your sit bones, and just breathe out and ground. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, just breathe in and out 3 times deeply. I'm already feeling better saying it.
No, I feel very
right. I'm
grounded
like,
myself.
That feels good. But that is like coming home, right? That's coming into yourself and being connected to yourself, which ties into all the points you just made. Is just like, oh, I can feel my stomach. Oh, I can sense what my body's needing and what it's not needing. And it doesn't have to be heavy and serious. It's just like, come back, get grounded, get very comfortable in your body so you can feel all the sensations you need to feel, and then go back into the world. And I guarantee things are going to go a little bit smoother. That's one piece. And I recommend that before photo shoots as well, because women get a little bit anxious. Most women get a little bit anxious going, how do I look? How are people perceiving me? I have to perform now. I have to be in front of the camera. And if you just get into your own skin, that's that's all it takes. Well, and drinking a lot of water, but that is what it takes, is just getting very present. And I actually think it could be kind of, we should make a board game. I actually think for the holidays, all this stuff we're not used to doing it because there's so much external stimulation, family and friends and food and advertising and, sparkly lights, which I love. All that stuff is coming at you. And if you are not here and present, you aren't here and present. You're off doing something else. And that ties. So tip number one, my tip number one ties into your tip number three: water.
Yeah.
It just is going to make you feel and look really good. And the second thing is spend just a couple of minutes setting the tone for your day. You don't have to specifically say, oh, the grocery store clerk is going to be nice to me today when I go shopping. It's just, I'm going to respond gently with everything throughout my day. So, that could be setting the tone for your day, or I'm going to enjoy this day no matter what. And that can set the tone for the day. A third thing that I thought about related to photography is this self-care. And we keep hearing self-care, it's all over the place, right? Self-care, women, self-care, we don't do it. But I think examples help. And what I see all the time is women taking the picture, they're never in the picture. So photos, for photos at parties or the family photo, and you guys are just doing it yourself. You're not looking for somebody to take a photo of you. The mom figure usually steps away from the camera and is taking the photo, or she leaves herself last. She's taking care of the kids or family members and making sure their clothes are on frontwards, and then she's last. She looks in the mirror, throws on mascara, and so she's not going to feel good. So if, again, you spend just a moment before an event and say, I'm going to be in the shots, the photos, and I'm going to look good. So everyone can just wait for 5 more minutes. I guess these are my 5-minute plans. 5 minutes set tone for the day, 5 minutes drink some water, 5 minutes to go into the bathroom or wherever you have a mirror, put your makeup, if that's your gig, put your makeup, your hairspray, whatever that makes you feel awesome. Make sure your shirt's on straight, look at it. They'll wait for you for 5 minutes, because when you're feeling really good, your energy's very grounded and present. Everyone's looking to you for that. I'm pretty sure if you set that tone and you have that energy of like, okay, I'm calm, I feel good, I'm ready to step in front of the camera. So get ready, just 5 minutes, completely focused on you with nobody else in the room. And then get out there and hand your phone to somebody else to take the photo. And maybe take photos before the party starts. Whatever photos it is that you want, maybe take the photos before the party starts. So you have those few minutes just to kind of get calm. And the outcome of that too, again, is if you're sharing yourself, if you're grounded and present and you're sharing yourself generously, you're going to be able to connect genuinely with people. And I tell you, all the stuff that you were just talking about is like, if you're not overly full, if you're not overly sugared, if you're not overly alcoholed, if you've gotten enough sleep, you're going to be able to share yourself generously because you have enough to give. And all of this can translate into portrait photography as well. That's why I think all of this matters. Your health matters, the connection matters, you're being grounded and comfortable matters, because that's how you show up in photos. People can see it. People can see it in your eyes. Are your eyes clear? Are you connecting with me? Are you being yourself, not the veneer? Are you being yourself? Are you connecting with people? Do you have a genuine smile, or is it all, do you feel tight? Body awareness. Are you feeling really tight in your cheeks? Are you feeling tight in your eyes, or your shoulders like this for every photo? How to just, let that breath out and just take any of these tips that we're offering and to look your best. I guarantee there's going to be some photos. There's always some photos at these times where families get together. So be in them, get as grounded as you can, take a few minutes for yourself, 100% important, and eat well and drink well and be merry.
Enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is about enjoyment and not taking things away from you. It's just sort of a perspective shift, right?
Yeah, it's more like you say, coming back to the self-care. It's like enriching your life rather than like restricting it and putting yourself first. Which again, I think is an issue with women again. Like you said, around the photos, is that they tend to be getting everyone else ready. You know, the kids, even the husband or the partner, like making sure that they're ready. Sometimes they can
Yeah.
be kidding themselves.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that is part of it. You're like, oh, for crying out loud, straighten the tie or whatever. And you're like, seriously, you need to pay attention. I think that's why a lot of women, when I'm taking the portraits or I'm starting a photo session conversation with them, I'm like, hey, you can bring in your partner if you want, or bring in your kid if you want to add on family. And they're like, oh no. This needs to be about me. And I'm like, totally get it. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, a good point. Yes, it is all about you. Let's have the hair and makeup artist just focusing on you. The photo sessions about you. Nobody's pulling on your coattails. Nobody's energetically wanting something from you. It's about us being in a room together and giving you what you need to look amazing. So, following these tips for great health and comfort and self-awareness, plus giving yourself time, all of that leads to really good living and an amazing photo shoot where you're connecting, where you and I are connecting genuinely to give you the best look you possibly can. Again, looking great, not looking younger, looking great. That's my goal.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think as well, what I like the most about, especially with your tips as well, is it's not adding any more time. It's not adding like another thing on the to-do list, because these are all simple things like setting the intention that could literally take 2 seconds to do.
Yeah.
And also, making sure you're hydrated, easily swap your morning coffee for a glass of water.
I don't know if you need to swap it, but
Okay.
both hands,
Maybe
Rachel.
both.
Don't go
Okay.
crazy.
Okay. I take that back. Have a glass, whichever you need first. But yeah, again, alternating like with the alcohol. But
Yeah.
again, it's just not making it a chore, not something else you have to do on top of looking after the family and running a business and anything like that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think what we should do is, why don't we put our tips in the comments below, and why don't you tell us how people can get a hold of you, and I'll do the same, but just verbally where people can find you.
So I'm on LinkedIn, which you may be where you're viewing this on, and I'm on Instagram as well. But I used to be more on Instagram, but I'm more on LinkedIn now. I also have a website, www.rachelsewell.co.uk, and I'll put that in the comments below. Yeah, that's where I am. But yeah, feel free to get in touch and message me. I'm happy to connect and learn more about you and how I can help.
Oh my gosh, people need your help. And how do you spell your last name? It's Rachel, right? Is your first name?
And Sewell is Sewell.
Okay, great. I know we'll have it down in comments below, and people can take a look at the work that I do at my website, www.becomebeseen, no spaces, become be seen, because that's what I believe in, that you need to be seen. And you can find me on Instagram at Laurie. Oh my God, that's not my Instagram. Become help me. Write this stuff down. Okay, my Instagram is become.by.laurieb. And I'm on Facebook as well, but really LinkedIn is where I'm telling most of my story and connecting with people, which is why we got to connect, which was terrific.
Yeah.
So on
happy
that
with
note, I would say, I look forward to talking to you more, Rachel, and I'm wishing everybody an amazing holiday and stay warm this winter. Who knows what our crazy weather systems are doing. So stay warm or stay cool and hydrate a little bit and have a really good time.
Yeah, definitely. And just want to say thank you again for inviting me to do this talk. And just want to say, like you just said as well, like anyone who's watching, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year and you have an amazing time with friends and family.
Yeah, likewise. All right. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for our chat, and I'll catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, bye.